Hey guys, and welcome to my Ottoman Civ Overview. In this video, I'll be going over the unique units and technologies of the Ottoman civilization, as well as showing off some gameplay to kind of give you a sense of what the civilization is all about. So to start off with here, we have the civilization bonus. Town centers produce settlers for free. So this is one thing that makes the Ottomans really unique. So your town centers will just automatically create villagers for you. So this reduces some of the micro that you have to do around using your villagers. You still have to make them, go collect certain resources, but you don't have to remember to constantly be creating villagers, as it will do it automatically for you. This also means that you won't have the food drain from creating villagers. Instead, what you will want to do at the start of the game is build a mosque and then get the upgrade to basically increase the rate at which your villagers will come out. So it plays very differently from other civs, so you don't need to worry about food and creating villagers. It's really all about getting the mosque improvements to actually make your villagers come out faster, and getting shipments to get your villagers, get more villagers at the start of the game to bump that number up, because it does come pretty slow at the beginning. Next we have the Royal Guard units. So we have the Hussars, and these are their hand cavalry, and then the Grenadiers, Humbaraki Corps, I should say, and these are just the Grenadiers that do the AOE damage to infantry. For their unique units, we have Imam, which I'll show in a minute, and then we have Janissaries. So these are actually the only infantry that can train out of their barracks, and they're basically very similar to a musket unit, except they're a little more tanky. They do more hand or melee damage to light units, but they do a little less melee damage to cavalry units. Although upgraded, they'll probably end up doing about the same since they have more health. But yeah, so similar to a musket unit, but a little tankier and slightly less damage to cav in melee combat, but slightly more damage to other units in melee combat. And then we have the Spahi, which isn't actually a unit you can build. That comes from it can only come from shipments, and it's basically a pretty decent cav, and that regenerates health over time when it's out of combat. And then we have the Abus gun. So this is built out of the artillery foundry, and it's light artillery, good against infantry. So it basically, the way it works is it has a little bit of wind at times. It sets up and then it shoots infantry, does a lot of damage. But it's pretty poor in melee combat, so you basically want to mix these in with your other units to protect them, so that they don't get attacked by units in hand-to-hand combat. We have the Great Bombard, which is kind of their equivalent of the heavy cannon from the factories. I don't know if it's better than the heavy cannon. It's a very large cannon, and it's pretty satisfying to shoot, but it doesn't do as much damage as you think it would do. I think it's been nerfed in the past, so I don't think it's as good as it used to be. But it's definitely a lot of fun to get a bunch of Great Bombards and shoot them at a clump of infantry. We have the galleys if you're playing in a naval battle, and that has a mosque to train healers, colony, and unit improvements. So for the mosque, we have that right here. So that's where we have these imams, which are just their healers. And then for their mosque unique improvements, we have a rival flag, which is a pretty interesting upgrade. So home city colonists arrive here. You can move this flag anywhere around the edge of the map or set a waypoint from it. So this is kind of an interesting way to kind of move your where your villagers are coming in around the map, if you want to, not have them all arrive in the home city. Or sorry, I should say at your town center. And then the other unique upgrade is the Topku Corps, which ships 3 Great Bombards. So like I said earlier, the Great Bombards aren't amazing, but if the enemy is massing infantry, especially skirmishers, then this might be worth having. It's also nice because it only costs 1,500 food, and if you have a lot of food, which you probably will because you're not using food on villagers, then you can just use this to deliver 3 Great Bombards without costing too much of your important resources. But yeah, so that's all the unique units and technologies that I'm going to go over for the Ottomans. I think that should be everything. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Ottoman cards to see what their unique cards and team cards they have available to them are. So for the Ottoman unique cards, we first have a Silk Road, which basically increases the amount of resources in your crates. This could be useful if you're going for a push in the Fortress or Commerce Age, and you're going to be shipping a lot of crates in the Commerce Age. So this will increase the yield from all of those crates. Next we have light artillery hit points. So this will improve the hit points on your Royal Guard Grenadiers as well as your Abus guns. And then you have another artillery hit points card, so you can stack these and basically give your Abus guns or other artillery a lot more hit points. Battlefield Construction. This is a pretty interesting card. So this allows your Janissary units to build barracks, stables, and artillery foundries. So this can be pretty good if you're going for an early to mid-game rush and you're kind of winning against your opponent, and then you want to build a forward barracks or stables, or just instead of having your villagers not collect resources and build those buildings, just have your Janissaries do it. So this is a pretty useful card you can pick up. Then we have Janissary Combat, so it's just increasing the combat efficiency of your Janissaries, so it increases their HP by 20% and damage by 20%. Then we have Mosque Construction, so this is just reducing the cost of all the unique Ottoman mosque improvements. 2 covered wagons, that's not unique, but I wanted to put it in here because the way villagers are created are unique to the Ottomans, so you might want covered wagons in particular with the Ottomans as shipments, because this allows you to get those covered wagons out pretty quickly and then put them down and have a lot more villagers start to come out. Because even though you can improve the rate of villager production from your mosques, it might not be enough, so you probably want at least 2 town centers, if not 3 at some point. So that's why covered wagons are pretty important with them. Then we have, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Asimi Oiglan School. Basically makes your Janissaries cost less, so you can spam them more in the late game. Then we have these great bombard cards. So these can also be produced from your factories, but if you want to have these cards for the late game to constantly be producing great bombards as part of your army, then you can pick these up. And then likewise we have a similar card, Ottoman Artillery Division, so this will ship 6 Grenadiers with the Great Bombard. So if you want one of the Great Bombards, but also some Grenadiers to destroy buildings, then you could ship this one. So those are kind of all the cards that I think are unique to them. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments. So now we have the team cards. So for the team cards, you have Team Cheap Trading Post, so reduce the wood cost of Trading Post for everyone on your team. Team Ironmonger, so everyone on your team will gather coin for mines faster. Team 2 Surgeons. Team Artillery Attack, increase the attack on all the artillery for everyone on your team. And then both in the Fortress Age and in the Industrial Age, we have these Team Chest of Coin, so 400 in Fortress, 1000 in Industrial. So if you're comboing this with other civilizations that are coin heavy, that could be pretty useful. For defensive strats, you can do Team Defenses, so ship 2 outpost wagons to everyone on your team. Team 4 Spahis, so if you want to do some raiding towards the end game, then you can take this to give everyone on your team some cavalry. If you're on the offensive, Team 2 Mortars could be useful. So if you have the upper hand, you can ship this and start destroying buildings. Same with Team 1 Monitor. This is just the mortar equivalent, but for naval-based combat. So yeah, that's all the team cards and unique cards for the Ottomans. So with that, let's go ahead and check out some gameplay to see how the civilization plays in real games. So now into the gameplay section for the Ottomans. So this was an 8-player free-for-all game, and I go for an early game rush with Janissaries on the blue opponent to my left, and then I followed it up by trying to turtle and then boom a little bit to get my economy back after killing him. So I think this game overall kind of shows the strengths and the weaknesses of the Ottomans pretty well. So they do have a pretty strong early and mid game, I would say, with their Janissaries and Abus guns, and this can be pretty hard for enemies to deal with. You know, like in this game, I'm showing off the early game Janissary Rush, and I'm basically able to stop his villagers from gathering for a long time, and he just falls so far behind in economy that he can't recover. Which might be a little counterintuitive to some people, the Ottoman really isn't a late game civ. So in this case, you know, in a free-for-all, other people are going to be aging up, getting to Fortress Age or later in the Industrial Age, and pumping out really high-quality units. Well, the Ottomans don't really have any amazing late-game units. Like, the Janissaries are still pretty good in late game, but the main problem the Ottomans have is really cavalry. So they don't have any really strong anti-cavalry units. You know, you can do your normal anti-cav counters that they have access to, but If you're playing against, like I was, a French opponent in this game who's just spamming cuirassiers, they're just too strong, and if you have the same, population and military that they do, they're still going to steamroll you because their cuirassiers are just so much stronger than any anti-cavalry units that you'll have. So I would say that's the Ottomans' main weakness, is really late game cavalry civilizations. So I'd say overall, they're decent, pretty strong in early to mid game. They're decent in the late game unless you're playing against a strong cavalry faction, in which case they're pretty weak in the late game. But I think they're pretty fun to play anyways. Like, you have access to the great bombards in the late game, which aren't as strong as you would think. They definitely do less damage than I thought they should do, but nonetheless, they're still pretty fun to spam and turtle with them and see how long you can hold out, even if you know you're going to lose. Yeah, I think that kind of covers the main things about the Ottomans, strengths, weaknesses, and kind of what you can expect while playing them. Definitely a fun civ, and I would definitely recommend trying them out to get better at raiding with your units, because since these villagers are popping out automatically for you, you can focus a lot of your attention on the raiding with your units instead of the villagers at home. So I think that's a really useful thing you can do to get better at raiding with your units. And that'll translate to any other faction you use, and you'll just have to do the villager management also. So definitely recommend trying them out. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.
Hadi bakalım. Evet. Evet. Selam. Tamam. Olur. Evet. Tamam. Olur. Hazır. Evet. Daha iyice. Doğru. Hazır. Hadi bakalım. Evet. Tamam. Doğru.